Hello, everybody. Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Hope you had a great and fun weekend. And how was yours, Keegan?
It's been good. Spent
Yes, sir.
a lot of it traveling. I was heading down to Atlanta for this youth ministry conference at Passion at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So 8 hour drive down to Atlanta, but it was fun. Watching a lot of sports. My Rams won. The playoff was pretty interesting, I thought. Two stinkers of games, basically, with Cincinnati kind of getting beat bad by Alabama, and then Michigan kind of laying an egg against Georgia, and that game was pretty much over 5 minutes in. So it was an interesting weekend. Caught a bug of a flu on New Year's Eve, so I was sitting in my living room, just bedridden, basically, from about 1 o'clock till the ball dropped. So that was definitely not a great part.
Well, ironically, I went away for once they canceled when we had that 10-day stretch when there was nothing but the IU basketball game in the middle, which I
Yeah.
believe was on Wednesday, and then that got canceled on Tuesday, and I was furious. I'm like, man, I have not been on any kind of vacation in over 5 years, and I could have done something here. And so I got so mad, I left town, bolted. Which is, you can see, I'm in an airport right now. But yeah, but was trying to watch as many of the bowl games as possible. Indiana basketball, of course. Yesterday, we'll get to all that. Don Fischer joins us here a little bit, and Charlie Miller as well. Indiana women's basketball, on the other hand, they were getting a lot of love on ESPN last night because they had a top 10 matchup in which they won in overtime, 70-63 over Maryland, number 6 Maryland. And not only that, it's the program's first win over Maryland.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about this season for women's basketball is it doesn't look like anyone is unbeatable, because South Carolina, I think, lost to, I think it was Missouri last week, the number one team in the nation. So this women's team has a serious chance to make a deep run and possibly win a national championship, which is awesome to see. And if we could have that kind of team in Assembly Hall, that'd be awesome. And I know there were near 6,000 people at that game, and that's without students basically for winter break. So,
Well, they made a pretty deep run last year, making the Elite
yeah.
Eight for the first time ever. And they've just got more experience this year. They have the same team back virtually with they're just a very solid team. Now, there's some other good teams because I was watching some highlights yesterday, and I think it may have been Kent State. Man, they got a girl on there that there's some good teams. It's going to be fun. Notre Dame's are still good. The Dukes are still good. I'm not trying to be sexist, but in women's basketball, to me, there's just a select group of teams that are good, and that's just how it's going to be. There's not going to be. You're rarely going to get big time upsets in women's basketball. It just doesn't happen that often. So it's probably going to be kind of chalky when tournament rolls around. But first of all, before you get to all of that, Indiana has a shot to win a Big Ten title.
Yeah.
So in women's basketball, I should say. They do not have a chance to win a Big Ten title in men's basketball, as we will get to that. Talk about laying an egg yesterday in Happy Valley. The only people happy were the Nittany Lions because that was just a lackluster performance of epic proportions and on both ends of the ball. And I'm not going to make excuses for it. To me, it's laziness. I mean, man, you got to fire yourself up and be ready to go. And it's the Big Ten. You're not playing Merrimack. So the one thing that I've been saying this for a minute, these guys don't have a killer instinct.
Yeah.
Not one game in which they have had an opportunity to do that, to put a team away, not come close. I'll be honest with you, I have to question their toughness. They don't seem like a very tough team to me. And I'm not saying that Race Thompson's not tough or what, but as a team, I don't see this grit. I don't see toughness. They're not a team. I sent out a tweet yesterday that, they're well bonded. They're very happy together and they get along great. And so there's no question of that. But on the floor, they're not a team. They don't play 40 minutes as a team. They're having some same issues, which I'm like, okay, that makes no sense to me. But you've got a lot of new faces, so you have to give them time. They're just still trying to. You've got an Xavier Johnson who, when he came to Indiana, you already had a book on him. You knew what he was, and he's pretty much been exactly what the book said.
Yeah.
Now, getting that to integrate into the Indiana system, that's still a project in the making right now. Rob Finney's trying to find his role off the bench. I was watching the game. Of course, I was out of town, but I was watching the game yesterday. But statistically, Indiana, that's another thing. Statistically, Indiana, if you look at it on paper, Indiana wins that game. They out-rebounded. They had a grand total of 6 turnovers. They turned the ball over 6 times. They turned Penn State over 13 times. And yet Penn State fought, and they just fought. And to me, that was the difference. Trace Jackson Davis with his customary 20 points. 8 of 18, though. He had a rough day in the middle. They did not make it easy on him. Race Thompson, 4 of 7. A yeoman's effort, 9 points. He had 10 total rebounds, so almost another double-double for him. So you got from Race Thompson what you needed. Parker Stewart, man, again, 2 points, 1 of 4, 0 for 2 from behind the three-point line. He has got to get engaged in this offense. Miller Kopp, 5 points. They're still just missing. They're just missing pieces right now. I have to be honest. They're not there yet. I mean, it's Mike Woodson's first season. I'm not throwing the talent in on him or at him. It's his first season. He's got a hodgepodge mix of guys that he inherited, that he brought in, and they're not there yet. That's all you can say.
Yeah, the one, because I didn't watch the game. I was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but the one thing I think I saw when I was kind of tracking on Twitter and reactions and everything after the game was it doesn't seem like the growing pains excuse is going to be really valid after this game. And I don't think that's a excuse that a lot of Indiana fans are going to accept anymore. And that's kind of what Coach Woodson has said after losses. They're a young team, they're a new team, and they're trying to still merge together. But you mentioned Parker Stewart. I mean, he played 32 minutes and only scored 2 points. And I mean, if he does that, you're just not going to win because he's your lethal scoring threat. And if you're spending 32 minutes on the floor and you're only scoring 2 points and he's not that good defensively to make up for it on the other end, so that's really questionable there. But that's something that definitely has to be better.
Absolutely. We'll get more into that later. Don Fischer's going to join us. We'll talk more about that, of course. The women's team we mentioned, big win. First win over Maryland in program history. 70-63 in overtime. Number 8 Indiana defeats number 6 Maryland. What are the stats on that? I know Grace Berger hit the shot to win it, man, which very, very appropriate. She's just, like I always say, she is a baller. I just want to pull those stats up, though. Where's NCAA? There we go. Boom. If I can get that game pulled up quickly enough. I should have told you to pull that sucker up.
70-63.
Yeah. No, I want to see the stats. I want to pull this box score up. Oh, of course it lists Maryland first.
18.
Really? Wow. Yep. Mackenzie Holmes plays 41 minutes. Alexa Goulbe plays 42 minutes. Grace Berger plays 45 minutes. Nicole Cardano Hillary played 43 minutes. Allie Patberg played 45 minutes. They played 7 players in that game.
Yeah.
That's a little scary.
Yeah, they only had 9 available.
Oh.
Yeah. So they pulled off that upset with only 9 available.
Gigantic. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's huge. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, I was sitting there looking, I'm like going, what the heck? why are they playing so many minutes? But yeah, Mackenzie Holmes 15 points, Alexa Goulbe 17 points. They almost had all 5 in double scores. 9 for Grace. Grace Berger only had 9, but she had the most important 2.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones
at the end. So congratulations to them. Hope their season, we'll keep following them and hope that continues to go well. NFL yesterday, man. Whoo, the Colts. That was a tough loss, but it's not. That doesn't knock them out of the playoffs. So I think they're going to be fine as they move forward. What are they, 9-7 now?
I think so, something around there.
So, and let's see who else was. Well, they lost to the Raiders, who probably also going to be in the playoffs. Trying to think anything else. Oh yeah, how about Antonio Brown? What I mean, I don't even know what to say. He's not really worth the time to talk about, but it's just so goofy. It's like talking about the Three Stooges or something.
That's what everyone's going to be talking about today. Is that whole
and it's actually ridiculous to give him time, which I'm doing, but it's a boring Monday. But if you were under a rock or don't follow the NFL, Antonio Brown, who has played for about half the NFL teams now. First of all, how in the
teams?
Huh?
He's played for 2 teams. He almost got traded to the Bills, and then he got traded to the Raiders. But
only officially played for 2 teams?
Yeah, he's only actually taken the field for the Steelers and the Bucks.
Well, it seems like he's been on about 18. But so he gets an opportunity with the reigning Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady. And what does he do? An Antonio Brown. Whatever went on in his mind, the next thing you know, he's ripping off his equipment, his shirt, throws his shirt in the stands, gloves in the stands. This is the third quarter, I think. Runs into the deal. And apparently, I think I heard that he tried to get a ride from a state trooper while still in his football pants and was shirtless.
I don't believe that, because why would he not go in the locker room and change?
Well, right. And then I heard that he went back in and changed and made ultimate arrangements. Maybe he was just trying to make the arrangements then, but I don't know.
He did play for the Patriots too. I forgot about that one, but he was only with them for a few games.
Well, he's only been with anybody for a few games here of late.
Yeah, but I saw a tweet that he was basically a game away from getting $1 million in incentives from receptions, yards, and touchdowns. So he lost out. Antonio Brown from the Bucks. He needed like 8 more catches, 50 more yards, and 1 more touchdown.
How long has he been there?
Just this year. But when he signed his contract, he put it in the contract that if he got a certain amount of yards, catches, and touchdowns, that he got $333,000 each in incentive money. Man,
he's not that good.
He's good. He's just way too much of a diva.
My point is he's not that good to where his talents equal or anything close to the antics that he pulls and stress that he causes on teams and the disruptions that he causes for teams. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I love how Bruce Arians didn't hesitate after the game. He just said he's no longer with the team right after that, because he had
Bruce Arians doesn't mess around, man.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that just tell you.
Yeah.
Punch you in the face, probably. I think we got to take a break.
Yeah, we're close, so we might as well.
We're just close. If we're not, we don't have to. But
you got
Don Fischer up next.
8.
Charlie Miller joining us later today. Look at the bowl results over this weekend. Who did better? The Big Ten, the SEC, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of, one has a winning record, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more later, but the Big Ten has a winning bowl record, and they will finish with a winning bowl record. The SEC will finish with a losing bowl record, but the 2 top teams.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody keeps saying the SEC is the best. I don't know if it's the best. It's got the best teams at the top.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them, they're no different than anyone else, I don't think, obviously. Yeah. But how was everyone else's weekend? How was your New Year's?
It was pretty good. I was just chilling. like I said, bedridden on the couch. I think I had some kind of the flu or something. Had a workout, and then my body was like I could barely move for a while after. So
What did you get the COVID?
I don't think so. I think it was just a flu, and my buddy, he said he had the same thing, and that he tested negative. So,
Well, good.
you know,
Glad to see you're getting better.
yeah.
A lot of people not happy with that loss yesterday, Ryan. 58 points. We'll get more into it, like I said, with Don Fischer here in a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we'll have the Fish on the line. Indiana Sports Speed Radio coming to you here on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. He has to do it by phone.
Don does. Okay.
What are you using as a microphone there?
Me, just my MacBook speaker, my MacBook microphone.
I was wondering if I'm trying to determine if I should call him or have you call him.
He should be able to just use the link.
He is on the road traveling and can only do it by phone today.
He can still do it from his phone. Charlie Miller did it last time.
Okay, you don't understand who I'm talking about, do you? Don Fischer is up next.
Okay.
He uses a fucking quill and a bottle of ink to write. He just called me. That's who I was on the phone with while we were on the air.
Okay.
I mean, I can do it, I think, and just put it next to my
that should work.
You got to tell me when we got to go, so I got to call him now. Tell me when we got like a minute.
You got a minute and a half.
Where's the phone? Jan Fischer. I guess I need to put the speaker, huh? I'm sitting around all these people. This is going to suck ass.
I think it's going to be fine. I can hear you fine, and the background noise is very minimal.
Talk about the people sitting next to me. Hey, Don. We're just 30 seconds or so out. No problem. How's Phil? I'm in Florida. I got so mad when they canceled that basketball game. I got furious, and I got right on my computer and booked a flight and got the hell out of town. I haven't been on vacation in 5 years. Not bad. I'm at the airport now, coming back. I haven't spent much time there, man.
15 seconds.
Yeah. All right, we're about 10 away. I'll be back.
Go.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Monday. I hope you're having a good day and a happy new year to everybody as we start the new year. Happy New Year to you. Don Fischer is the voice of the Hoosiers, joins us.
Well, thanks, John. All right. Jim, I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry about that, but I'm in Philadelphia. I'm literally sitting here waiting for my flight. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled like so many have this year to get back to Indianapolis so that I can get home. But without question, yesterday was a very disappointing day for Indiana basketball.
Yeah, quite a surprise, really, and especially with the manner in which they played. It just seemed a little lifeless, and the defense that has been their hallmark kind of went away from them, and there were just several things that were a little surprising.
Well, no question. And the biggest problem, I talked to a couple of guys leading up to the ball game that told me that the practice sessions the last 2 days leading up to this matchup with Penn State were the two best practices they've had in a long, long time. So I was shocked when I saw how Indiana played in this matchup. And you're right, the three-point shooting that Penn State put on Indiana in this game, 11 of 22, 50%, was astounding when you consider that Indiana had shot 28 or had held teams to shooting 28% in most games this year. They have been terrific at guarding the three-point line. In this matchup, not so much by any stretch of the imagination. And then on top of that, they couldn't make threes. They shot 17 of them in this ball game, 3 in the last, 5 or 6 seconds of the game trying to get a three-pointer to fall. But they only hit 4 in the entire contest. And honestly, this team did not play well defensively. They obviously didn't move the ball, I don't think, like they should have offensively. It just kind of looked like what we've seen a lot from this ball club last year. And that's not a good sign for this team.
No, and you've seen a lot of people kind of make that complaint, but as we know, it is not the same team. There's some different faces, and that's part of the issue. I think they still, I know they're a very well bonded team, but I sent that tweet out yesterday. They just don't seem like a team on the floor for 40 minutes, especially, or at least not yet. They do one game, they do something great. They only had 6 turnovers yesterday, which is great, and they forced Penn State to turn the ball over 13 times, but yet it doesn't do them any good.
No, and it didn't because, number one, they couldn't rebound the basketball. They gave up. They were beaten on the boards 39 to 29, another area that Indiana's been dominant in this year. They're averaging like 10 rebounds more a game than their opponents. And in this ball game, they got rebounded by 10. So I don't know what happened in this contest, and I'm not sure Mike Woodson has the answers. Maybe we'll hear what they are tonight on Inside IU Basketball with the coach, because we'll have him on the air tonight at the Southern Soul Restaurant. But honestly, this was a very puzzling and a questioning ball game about this basketball team, and we haven't really seen them play like this. I don't think much this year. We've had spurts. Obviously, the second half against against Wisconsin, I should say, was kind of like that. They have not, but they just haven't played 40 minutes of good basketball at any one time this season, with the exception of against a couple of lesser teams, which you can't really get a feel for as to how they played for a full 40 minutes. I just think that's the most troubling thing about this basketball team right now, is their ability to put 40 minutes of great effort on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, and one of the things I was wondering about is how would they respond to the extended break they had with the one COVID cancel. But Penn State hadn't played in 22 days, I heard yesterday, and I'm like, wow. So they didn't have any rust problems whatsoever. Obviously, Penn State responded a lot better to the break than Indiana.
Yeah, and Indiana had a 10-day break, and like I said, in talking to the people the last couple of days leading up to the ball game, they said those were the 2 best practices they maybe had this year. So I don't know what happened, and honestly, it's very puzzling, as we stated. But this team is better than that, and that's the good news, because we know that they are better than that. But they're still not getting enough shots, I don't think, for their shooters. Parker Stewart being the primary guy, he only took 4 shots in this game, only 2 from behind the arc. He didn't hit either one of them, but he struggled to shoot the ball in this contest. That's always going to be an issue when he's not shooting it well, because people have to guard him. And in this game, Penn State did. So you've got to give Penn State a lot of credit. And John Harrah, he's been a big issue for Indiana every time they faced him, especially against when Harrah plays against Penn State. Trace Jackson Davis is not at his best. And even though Trace had a 20-point game, Mike Woodson was furious about his rebounding in this contest. He was not pleased at all in that regard, and said he was going to talk to the kid after the ball game, or after they got on the bus, or maybe at home, or maybe at practice tomorrow. But whatever the case may be, it was not a good performance by this Indiana basketball team. And Jim, we can't afford that right now. This team now has got to play Ohio State and Minnesota. Minnesota may be the surprise team in the country this year, with all the transfers that they brought in to take up roster space. And Ben Johnson, in his first year as the head coach, and what a job he's done. They've only lost 1 ball game, and Ohio State's the other team that's red hot right now and leading the Big Ten. and they are, of course, ranked in the top 10 of the country. So this is going to be a very challenging week for Indiana basketball, even though both these games are at home.
Yeah, Ohio State went into overtime, I think, with Nebraska over the weekend, but they pulled the win out. Most importantly, we saw potentially some upsets this weekend. Michigan State almost went down, but they pulled the win out. Most importantly, the thing that Indiana was not able to do. And that's something that I've been wondering. I know these guys are, I'm not questioning their toughness, but as a team, I'm not sure I'm just seeing the grit and the toughness they need. They have not really finished games out or put teams away, and that's something that either they haven't learned yet, or I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing that.
Well, we've heard Coach Woodson talk about the fact that I got to teach these guys how to win. Well, it's a pretty good time to learn real quick, because winning now is going to be critical in the Big Ten. There's no doubt about that. This was a very winnable game that they lost at Penn State. A team that was just 5-5 coming into it, and like you pointed out, they had not played for 3 weeks because of COVID issues. Two weeks in the COVID issues with their program, and then a week against Delaware State where they canceled the ball game on them. So honestly, this was a game that Indiana had right there for the taking and didn't get it done, and that's concerning to say the least.
Yeah, I sent a tweet out that Indiana's not at exactly a crossroads of the season yet, but they're close, because that can get away when you lose to a team like Penn State. It's not getting easier, and the battles will become tougher. This season could slip away from them quickly if they don't get a grasp.
Yeah, there's no question about that. This is it. I don't think that the team, I think you're right about the team being very cohesive, and these kids like each other and like playing with one another, but they need to learn how to win right now and how to get over the hump. They've got to be smart and making plays at the end of ball games, and we haven't seen that thus far. It's going to have to take place if this team is to have a successful season.
Note of positive news, the Indiana women's team, a big win as they knocked off number 6 Maryland, their first win over the Maryland program, number 8 Indiana, 70-63 in overtime yesterday. So Terry Moore and crew, they get a big win for them.
Oh, it's huge. This is the first time that Indiana's beaten Maryland since Maryland joined the Big Ten Conference, and Maryland has been in the top 1 or 2 every single year since they joined the conference in women's basketball. So this is a team to beat. If you beat them, it is significant, to say the least. And of course, from Indiana's perspective, it's the first time since they joined the league. So it was a huge win for the program.
Absolutely. Well, Don, you're traveling, I'm traveling, so I'm going to let you go. But we'll see you tonight at Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington at 7:05 for Inside Indiana Basketball with Don Fischer and Mike Woodson.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Jim. Thanks very much.
You bet. Have a great day, Don. Thank you.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
There's the great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as he is traveling as well. So I think he took the same idea, man. It's a rarity that it was just weird to look up and like, oh my God, I've got 4 days off or 5 days off in a row on a weekend.
Wasn't he with the team in Philly?
Well, probably, yeah, I guess. Wait, is that where they fly out of? No,
Penn State. It's near Philly. I
bet you. Don't they have an airport at Happy Valley?
Yeah, they do. I guess so, but
Bloomington. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He may have just been traveling. I mean,
yeah.
Who knows? But could be right. But there you go. So. Don Fischer felt the same way I did. Tim says the loss was due to not guarding the 3-point line. There was some open looks. That was for certain, but there was switches. I was watching that were just you could see these switches happening in slow motion, and they're not reacting quick enough. And you would end up having 2 guys on the crossover offender, and nobody switched back. And I'm like, dude, you're all making this easy. This is pitch and catch, man. Mm-hmm. It's a little confusing and concerning on why a defense that has played so well up to this point looked like that, but they haven't been challenged. Who have they really played? I mean, It's been a very, very light schedule. And when you don't get challenged and you play against teams that are greatly less talented than you athletically, now they're going to get stretched for the entire season. Every Big Ten team is going to stretch them. As I mentioned yesterday, Nebraska takes Ohio State to overtime. Northwestern took Michigan State to overtime. So you think they're not going to try to do the same? It's going to be a tough year for Indiana. I'm not saying bad. I'm just saying it's going to be tough, hard, and they're going to have to get hard fast.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about just the lack of energy they had. And I feel like when you're lacking energy, that is a coaching problem. And I think it'd be interesting to hear what Coach Woodson would say about media and the fans saying that there is a lack of energy. So, because
I don't understand how that can be. I don't get that.
Yeah.
And there was a stat a minute ago that I want to put this up. I did see that's a pretty decent stat. Here you go, Sean. Thank you. 7 points in 60 minutes between Kopp and Stewart, and got out rebounded. Why again are Bates and Geronimo not getting more PT? I can't answer that one. I've got to be honest with you, because Stewart can shoot.
Yeah,
but he has been very erratic. He's had like one really good game or maybe two, but I don't think he was either taught or learned how to hunt his shot, to work for his shot, work harder. Miller Kopp, I don't want to disparage. Not sure. It's kind of hard to find a balance when the offense runs to Trace Jackson Davis, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Other than that, it runs to Xavier Johnson, and not just because he has the ball in his hands, but he takes a lot of shots. He's been up and down, but there is just no cohesiveness in this offense whatsoever. None.
Mm-hmm.
There's no flow. And they're going to have to find it quickly, or it's going to be a disappointing season for the Hoosier fans.
Yeah, and they have to play inside out, because we saw what they did against Northern Kentucky. They shot like 80% from – or not they, but Trace and Race shot 80% from the field. And then, it was Parker Stewart making threes when he could, when they would left them open, and they were forced to guard Race and Trace down low. So you have to play to your strengths. And I mean, if I think Trace 20 points on 8 for 18, I mean, that's not really going to do it. But I mean, he can't be the one. He can't be the only one to score, and he can't be the only one that they can rely on.
No, he's going to have off nights. But do you think that? Well, I know it's a rhetorical question. Penn State is not the only team that's going to come at Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, and Penn State may be one of the lesser talented teams that will be coming at Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah.
So, E.J. Liddell, he's up next. Now, Race will probably draw that assignment, I'm assuming, but there are no easies, no gimmies. We keep saying that. Well, there you go. But don't just look at this game. Like I said, look at those other games I just mentioned that went to overtime. It's league wide, man. You've got to buck up and bone up to make it in this league.
Yeah, and Coach Woodson's talked about how you don't lose at home and then you figure out how to win on the road, and it doesn't look like they've figured out how to win on the road at all. But the energy they play with at home is incomparable to what they play with on the road, and it's starting to rear its ugly head that they play completely different at home and then they can't handle it on the road. So,
where are we on the breaks? Time for a break.
We got 2 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Happy post New Year's Eve. What did everybody do for New Year's Eve? Did you go out? Did you stay in? You won't believe this, but I was in by 10:30. I was like, you know what? I was out here all day. I'm going to get out while the getting's good, and enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll leave that out for all the rookies. But I was. But around that, it was fun around that. So a little refreshed and relaxed and ready to get back at it because the season keeps coming, man.
Yeah.
Bowl season has wrapped up. We're going to talk about that later on. The students still won't be back for the OSU game. I didn't realize that, which is coming up, Thursday?
Yes, the 6th, I believe.
There's a lot of games that students don't.
Ohio State and Minnesota.
I mean, those are important games.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Both of those. Yeah, Minnesota has really, as Don said, one of the surprising teams in the country. But it's going to be a tough road, no doubt. But the crowd will be fine without the students. It's just not quite the same. Let's take a quick break. We got plenty more. Charlie Miller should be joining us later as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our great friends at Southern Stone Restaurant in Bloomington. Don't forget, tonight you've got Inside Indiana men's basketball with Don Fischer and Mike Woodson, of course, at 7:05. Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington, Southern Stone Restaurant. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio after this. Where's Charlie?
I'm not sure.
You sent him the link, right?
Yeah.
Man. Well, I should save. I'll save this for the show. It's funny.
What?
On my way down here, I have a backpack. You know, it's my personal carry-on that you're allowed.
Yeah.
Well, they've got this bin that's now about that wide. It has to fit into that.
Yeah, you told me that, how they charge you for that.
Well, I'm like, all right, this is my hotel room tonight. That one had wheels on it, that little backpack. I ripped the wheels off. I broke the pull thing out of the top of it, that you pull it with, because I'm done with this bag. But the best thing is, once I get done with all the show, all the little things that I can, I'm going to stick every little thing I can in a vest pocket I have. I'm going to wear these headphones on
Yeah.
Just wear them onto the plane like they're big headphones. And there may be one other thing. And then once I get on, I'm going to shove them in a bag and shove them in a bin. $80.
I would just try to act nonchalant about it and just try to walk past.
Yeah, well, I will be nonchalant, but you got to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can't have two bags. Trust me, they are. That's what they're looking for. Money, making money. Oh my God. Booking a flight on Spirit is difficult. It takes you a long time because they repeatedly try to get you to upgrade the stuff.
Yeah.
Pick your seat. Grab an extra bag. Whatever. Man, I wish I could have a Starbucks coffee right now.
20 seconds.
Oh, I forgot to text Charlie.
I sent him the link. Just tell him to hop in and I'll put him in. Four, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this post-New Year's Monday. Oh, first show of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. Have to start remembering to write 22 if you ever write now. That's like the hardest thing to do.
When I made the show today, I titled it ISB 1321, and then I had to go back in and change it. So,
yeah. If you're just joining us, I am en route back home, traveling at an airport that definitely was not in Minnesota. I will tell you that. But yeah, flew a particular airline that flies out of Indianapolis that really tries to gouge you on every single little thing, if you can guess what airline I'm talking about. And all I had was a backpack on the way down here, but it was pretty full. But they now have a bin that's about this stinking wide that they try to make you fit it in. And it wouldn't quite fit in, mainly because it had wheels on the bottom. When I got to the hotel room the other night, I ripped all those wheels off. I'm like, gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually talking to the audience since you've already heard the story.
Yeah.
But how was everyone else's New Year's? Did you go out? Did you stay in? What did you do? The sad thing is, it was kind of warm up there when I left.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the 50s.
Yeah, 50, and I think it hit 60.
Yeah, and I checked today.
It's 34.
Well, that's better than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
The bowl games, man, kind of fun. At the top, didn't end up the way Big Ten fans would like. They didn't win. What was the biggest bowl game the Big Ten won? Where's my list here?
Rose Bowl.
Yeah, that would exactly be it. And what a game that was.
That was a really good game.
Iowa had Kentucky in the VRBO Citrus Bowl, and Kentucky able to pull that win out at the end. Then you had the Outback Bowl, in which Arkansas handled Penn State easily, 24-10. So there's an 0-3 mark. Well, no, it's 0-2 mark by the Big Ten versus the SEC. Georgia beat Michigan, so there's 0-3. Looking for others. Purdue beat Tennessee, so 1-4. Individually, what's that?
The Purdue and Tennessee game is really good too. They just kept on going back and forth with scores.
But the SEC also, other than Georgia and Alabama, they're going to finish with a losing bowl record. The SEC,
yeah,
they're going to finish 6-7.
Are you counting on them beating up on themselves?
Yeah, it's 5-6 right now. So there will be one more win and one more loss.
Yeah.
So therefore, they will have to finish with a losing bowl record. It just, they're strong at the top, normal in the middle.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten is a little stronger in the middle to upper middle, but definitely not as strong at the top right now.
Yeah.
But not many people are. So there's that. What bowl games did you get a chance to watch?
I watched the Cotton Bowl and the Music City Bowl for Tennessee and Purdue. I watched a little bit of the Rose Bowl on the way down to Atlanta. I think that was really it. I was doing a lot of packing and stuff and working out a lot. So, but it was interesting. The Rose Bowl was crazy because I think Ohio State was a +7 live pick at some point, and a lot of people were like, I feel like that's way too obvious. And then they came back and they're just foreshadowing what they're going to do next year with Stroud having 500+ yards, Jackson Smith and Jigba having over 300 yards, and I think like 3 touchdowns. So,
dude, the one play, the one touchdown, the throw, the catch,
yeah,
that was freaking amazing.
Yeah,
that was a Willie Mays going away over the shoulder. I don't know how he makes that catch.
Yeah, I would say Stroud. Throw. I'd say Stroud's probably going to enter this next season as the favorite to win the Heisman, and it should be his to lose because you know how they don't like to pick kind of 2-time in a row guys and Bryce Young. So Ohio State's going to be extremely dangerous next year, and I think they could possibly be a favorite to win the national championship.
Well, they started out that way this year, but
yeah,
we'll see how that changes. The Colts, man, that was a bad loss. But, of course, they were without Carson Wentz.
He played.
Oh, he did? I didn't see it. He did end up playing?
Yeah, he played, yeah.
I did not see the game. So,
Yeah.
what I saw a headline that says, will Carson Wentz be the undoing? What happened in the game?
I'm not sure. I was watching the Rams play. I know there was a lot of deep balls, and I know that T.Y. Hilton basically caught a Hail Mary bounced off a Raiders defender's hands for one of the touchdowns. So the game could have been a bigger blowout than it was supposed to be. But I didn't get a lot of chance to watch it because I was watching the Rams while I was waiting in line for this Passion Conference. So,
well, that didn't do a lot. So there's that. Man, I hope Charlie's doing all right. Well, I'm sure he's doing all right. Probably just busy. He's a busy dude, man.
Yeah.
Was looking forward to talking to him about that Penn State game because that was just. It's not like I've never seen an Indiana team play like that before, even good ones. Yeah. You do, but this isn't what I would call a good one yet. They can be, but they're not yet. I mean, until you beat somebody, until you start playing consistently, doing things consistently, and that's the one thing is they are not right now is consistent. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they'll get that straightened out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I just the glaring thing to me again, and I know I've said it 3 times, but Parker Stewart can't play 32 minutes and only take 4 shots, like Don said. That Woodson should be in his ear every single timeout, every chance he gets to shoot more. And I don't know if that's a confidence thing, but all Woodson's talked about is the confidence he gives his guys. But Parker Stewart has to be more aggressive, and you talk about it all the time. He has to get his shot and be more aggressive in trying to find his shot. Him and Miller Kopp, and I mean Miller Kopp's been non-existent since that the Syracuse game, I think. I mean, his free throw shooting helps, but he was lights out for Syracuse, and he was a big reason why we were even in that game.
It's as if he's trying to stay out of the way.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Between Xavier Johnson, Trace Jackson Davis, and whatever else is going on, Miller Kopp has just not found his comfort zone, I guess you'd say. Because again, him and Parker are just neither of them have found a comfort zone because those guys are the two that have just not been consistent in any way on the court. People wonder why Tamar Bates and Geronimo are not getting more minutes. Well, Woody's trying to get these guys to that point because he probably believes if Parker Stewart can get there, they'll be better with Parker Stewart being there than someone else because he has better abilities. But that's the thing about being patient, and it's tough. Sometimes you've got to watch losses, you've got to watch bad play. Fans have to go. They may have to go through a bad year again this year. Yeah. But you have to remember, Woody does not have it. The one thing I kept hearing about when Archie Miller was here, which I didn't buy that then for him, but you don't have his players. You don't have his players. Wait till he gets his players. Yeah. Well, Woody doesn't have his players, period. He's got everybody else's. So,
well, he brought in 3 transfers, so he has
right, but they weren't up. But I meant, I'm saying they're all new from 3 different places. They're not freshmen.
Yeah, but I understand not having your players, but I don't know if there's a single college coach in the country that wouldn't want Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all. No, I don't disagree with that at all.
But what I think will be interesting for the years to come, and just from what I've seen and kind of watching Coach Woodson and just his mannerisms and who he is as a person, is I think he is going to land some big fish in Bloomington just because people are going to want to come and play for him. And an NBA guy, just someone who has that kind of swag and attitude about him, and they get to come here and play for a blue blood. And he's already got Schifano, or I don't know how exactly to pronounce his name. Schiaffino, I think that's what it is, and Cups.
Schiaffino. See, that's the thing. The recruits, he's got good recruits coming.
Yeah.
That will continue. That has to pile up. That has to start piling up because the talent is simply better. It's better talent than what was recruited. And I'm not saying across the board, man for man, but as a whole, the talent that is being recruited now is just simply better. And you got to get that talent in and start developing that talent.
Yeah. Hey, this is really like weird, but I think a tree just fell on our Airbnb, so I got to let you go. I'm really sorry.
We'll just go out and check that out. We'll keep going.
will.
What time's the next break?
6 minutes. So I'll be right back if you can rest for 5 minutes. All right.
I will. We'll survive without you. How about that? How about in the middle of the live show, a tree falls on you? I hope that's not true. Obviously, he's all right, so I can laugh about that. But I hope that's okay. But said it was an Airbnb, so it's not his, so he should be fine. How's everybody doing out there today? Let me get back over here to the comments. Plenty over here that I've missed, unfortunately. So let me scoot back up and grab those. Appreciate you guys. Ross says he didn't understand the substitution pattern or lack thereof. You know, I try not to judge that from someone like Mike Woodson because I'm not in practice. I don't see who's doing what. It's the same with someone was talking about. I saw a post yesterday on Twitter that I just absolutely, it almost incensed me because I mean, I'm not, I don't approach this stuff as a fan, but I saw an IU fan post that if I were Christian Lander, I'd be hitting the portal. And I'm like, why? He's an 18-year-old freshman. He's got guys in front of him. And everyone thinks just because they're not playing as well as they'd like to, that, well, what convinces you that this is going to be better? Don't you think if Mike Woodson or Dane Fife or the coaches as a whole thought this was a better situation, that would be happening? That's always been my take on things. I think that the experience between these coaches, they know what the hell they're doing. So I'm not questioning that. It's just got to play out, and it's up to the players to start picking up on it. But it's man, it's new, and this is the Big Ten. It's not a startup league, so it's hard to just come out swinging when you don't have everything. But yeah, boy, Scott, thank you for that. Usually it's both ways. That's funny. Mentioned that one earlier from Sean. Let's see. Tim asked, why was Trace Jackson taking a layup with 15 seconds left, and then all the people to shoot threes when Stewart was? You're asking the wrong man. Let's see. Sean says they need the toughness and athleticism of Geronimo and Bates, Miller and Kopp when not getting shots or not difference makers. 7 points, yeah. For whatever reason, the rotations are how they are. The minutes are how they are. Mike Woodson has coached at the NBA. He's coached at every level. I'm just not going to question much of his coaching at the moment because I don't know if a lot of times people have plans and it takes a minute for those plans to come to fruition, man. Teams get better. This one has nowhere to go but up. There's no question about that. Indian Nation says the problem with Kopp and Stewart, if they stay in one spot too much and the defense knows they can shoot the three, they make it easier yes, you got to work for shots. But I wonder if you've got a lot of people, you've got Trace Jackson Davis looking for a shot and everyone looking to get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis. You got Xavier Johnson going to the hole a lot. I don't know that they're getting enough looks. I don't know that there needs to be a few more set plays. But again, I'm not an offensive basketball coach, so I'm not going to question what Woody's strategy is. But those two spots need to get better. How's the tree?
Well, we got a minute and 10 until we go to a break, but it was a pretty massive tree in the neighbor behind us yard that fell like kind of parallel with our Airbnb. So we got the remnants of it, but this tree's probably, I don't know, 2 feet wide by 2 feet. Like, yeah,
Biggie.
It was a huge tree, and it was yeah.
If it had come in just behind you during the show, we would have had what you call a viral moment.
Yeah, probably. We would have.
Is it break time? Is it break time, Charlie?
We've
Let's take a break. Let's just take a break. Charlie Miller will be with us next when we come back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friend from Remax Realty, Cheryl Sizemore. Make sure you reach out to Cheryl if you're in the Indianapolis area and looking for a home. Her 2 decades of experience could be the difference it makes between you getting the house you want. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
All right, I'm going to go talk to those people. I'll be right back. You got just over.
We lose her logo? What's
hey,
up, Charlie?
Apologies, man.
You're good. Keegan just had he had a tree fall. Like, he's in an Airbnb and he's like, I think I gotta go. I think a tree just fell on him. I'm like, well, you don't leave. I said, just go check it out, and I'll be here when you come back.
Yes.
But he said it was like a 2 foot by 2 foot tree that fell, and it just like barely missed it.
Oh, wow.
How was your weekend, man? You know what? I don't know. I forget where he said he was. He's at a Christian conference.
Okay.
Where was he? I forget. How was your weekend, man?
Oh, man. Quick. Went by quick.
Tell me about it. I'm in the airport.
Yeah.
I was in your old home state, bro.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Snuck down and got me a few days.
Good. Did you disclose your city?
Oh, just to a few people.
Okay, cool.
Not that it matters, but gosh, I mean, I did nothing, dude.
Good.
I mean, I sat in a chair for 3 days reading a book.
Good.
Smoking cigars.
Nice.
And didn't move.
Nice. Yeah, actually, Saturday was I took like from here on out, Saturdays are going to be off for me on purpose. And Saturday was really good, to be honest with you, man, because like I didn't think about being anywhere, doing anything, like watch some movies, learn a little more about Elvis.
Well, because it's rare, it's almost never that happens during this time of year. And Indiana had one game in a 10-day stretch,
right?
Because we had no football going on. I'm like, well, the day before the game they canceled it, and I was like, gosh, dang it! I was like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Good.
Man, that game yesterday was terrible.
I saw we out rebounded.
Outshot.
Yeah.
Back in 23 seconds.
One of the difference was that that game in between.
4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Charlie Miller joining us now. Charlie, how was your New Year's?
It was great. I'm hoping everybody had a great New Year as well. Saturday was a day of relaxation, just like you. I think it's rare. I mean, you've been going just as long as I've been going, man. This has been 11 years without knowing you're going to have a day off, but purposely, because again, we kind of work for ourselves in that sense. But it was refreshing to know that you put yourself in a position so I could take a day off, or you can take off, go to Florida in between the UNC Asheville game not happening, and enjoy yourself, man. So that was Saturday was really cool for me.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch as many bowl games as I think I'd like to have because I was outside. I was trying to watch them on some of my phone, but you can't see all that. But
Right.
tried to enjoy that because I hate when college football is over. It's like, man, I kind of miss it a little bit now.
Yeah.
But great bowl season. Indiana, unfortunately, not playing this year, but hopefully they'll be back next year.
Yeah.
But fun to watch those games. You got the national championship coming up, of course. The SEC, Georgia, Alabama, same O, same O. Michigan gets beaten, and Cincinnati gets beaten. Neither Cincinnati's game was actually closer than Michigan. So for people who think that Cincinnati maybe didn't belong or whatever, you know what? They didn't get beat any worse than any other team that has played in that semifinal game. That semifinal game they've all been horrible.
Right.
Scores are lopsided.
Lopsided. Well, that's one, first of all, a testament of the teams that probably belong. Nothing against it. Two, I want to kind of pivot here, but I watched the Iowa Kentucky, and that was a
great game. Yeah.
I mean, stop 4th and 1. You decide to kick it. They end up running it. I mean, Kentucky ends up running the football and runs in the time. That was a really good game. I mean, from start to finish. And, that was like, man, to me, that was like a really good bowl game. Like two teams that you wouldn't expect. Kentucky didn't have even a chance. But there's their second 10-year win season. So it's like it was really good to watch.
Yeah, Big Ten ended up going 1-4 against the SEC head-to-head, but they end bowl season with a winning 6-4 record, and ironically, the SEC will end with a 6-7 losing record in bowl games, but
Wow.
they have the top two teams in the country.
Yeah, and always playing the national championship game. It's like,
yeah, well, this is a repeat. We've had this very national championship game a few years ago.
Yeah, and then at one point in time, the Georgia head coach was an assistant. Was he assistant under?
I believe so.
I mean, that's just a family tree. I mean, that's just, I always say this in sports, just my opinion. As a head coach, I wonder how much they're really running the system more so than assistant coaches. That you look at Bill Parcells. I know Coach Knack was really big. Bill Parcells and friend. A lot of the coaching tree that goes on. The Bill Belichick's and a lot of people that come from that pretty much that ilk, I should say. It's just amazing. But going back to, it's amazing how Georgia, Alabama's always in the national championship game every single year. It's amazing. I'm like, your recruiting at Alabama is just, okay, we're going to play. At 80%, we're going to play. We're going to expose you. I mean, that's an easy sell if you're a top, what they call, I guess, a 5-star, 4-star player. You have an opportunity to go to Alabama. Almost like a no-brainer.
Speaking of Alabama, switching gear here, or sports actually, to basketball, because we talk about Indiana still searching for that magic elixir to get back to where they want to be. But you look at a team, Alabama. I'll take them as an example. They have little to no basketball tradition, and Nate Oates comes in. Did a hell of a job at Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, because that was back when Indiana was potential. I'm like, boys, you get Nate Oates, and he got locked up too soon. But I mean, by Alabama, not the cops. But he's done nothing but win from the minute he got there.
And I don't know, you mentioned him because he has a philosophy that they really believe in. And that's why I think people were surprised that Clowney ended up going to Alabama. But his philosophy is he does not believe in the mid-range game. It's a three-pointer or it's a layup at the rim. He was like, the shot. His philosophy, the mid-range is a waste of time. It's either a three or it's going to be a layup. And I think that philosophy players love to play in. It's a fast up and down pace game. And I say we're not doing it in Indiana. I think we're starting to get back to that pace of play, that trust with our skill set. The reason why we got there, you have a coach, I think, in the coaching staff that's going to promote that kind of play. But I think that's the big difference. You did it at Buffalo. You're very successful. Now you're at, Alabama, a top, Power 5 type school. You're doing the same thing. Players want to play in that situation. This is the era of the 3-point shot. And I know we struggled mightily with the 3-ball yesterday, right? But players wants to play in that kind of style. So I'm not surprised.
It seems like it. I look at Indiana and a team like Alabama. I just see a bunch of confident shooters on that Alabama team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're never afraid to take a shot.
That's right. Well, again, you got the right of, well, I should say that you've earned the right because that's the style of play. We still have a little identity theft, I think, going on. And for me, what I call that, you have a new coach coming in. He's looking to encourage, hey, look, the players that may have not been, they've been questioned back in the day on taking certain shots, or, I remember there was a stretch, nothing against Archie, where, hey, look, we make shots in practice, we just can't make them in games. Well, games are a lot different. There's a different pressure in games. Okay, those shots are the same. And then, the side eyes you typically get from coaches, all of that stuff goes into thinking about when I catch that basketball, if I miss it, what am I going to hear? I think we're starting to break the shackles, so to speak, from that regard. Alabama, again, that's their approach. It's 3-point shot or it's a layup. So it's like you just said, they're going to live and die by the 3. And they're happen to be thriving by that 3. And 33%, so people know, is a high percentage. Like that's, according to the analytics, that's a good. So if you're shooting at the 35, 37% clip, and that's all you're shooting, you're going to probably out-edge people. Yeah. You're going to out-edge people because you're making one more point, and they got to play that much more harder. Guess what? You're not trying to run people off the 3-point line. You're playing closer. So guess what? That's going to open up. Open up driving lanes for driving kick, get to the basket, shooting free throws.
Well, and the game I'm looking at particularly is the win over Tennessee that they had yesterday, 73-68. Well, to go right along with what you said, they outscored Tennessee in the paint 38-22.
They're going to get to the basket because one, the scouting report. So now you're going to play in a team like this. I can only imagine, just sharing. We know they shoot the 3. They shoot the 3 at a high clip. They're going to shoot it. They will miss a make, and then they're going to board it. They're going to board it. So you gotta close out. You can't play pack line defense. You can't sit back. They're going to shoot the 3. So therefore, now your man-to-man principles might be might be compromised because you have to play people closer that can shoot. You're going to attack the paint, and that to me is a testament to what you just said right there.
Well, and I think the fans' biggest question is why can someone just go in and change a program, especially one that has had zero tradition, and that does not happen at Indiana. Has not.
Well, I think you have to have, I don't care what system you put in, you got to have the players. Like, it's not, people say it's not about the X's and O's, about the Jim and Joes, right? You got to have the Jim and Joes. I'm not saying we don't have the Jim and Joes. I just think our Jim and Joes have been broken down. Ours have been broken down. I think we've been programmed to do, hey, let's force feed the ball. Just my opinion. Let's force feed the ball. Don't take the shot. You got players that are, you had Al Durham was on the ball to me 80-90%. He's no longer there. You got the trend. So you got a whole new team, right? You got a whole new team. You got a shoot first point guard now. You got a shoot, take charge kind of point guard who averaged 16 points a game. Who I kind of felt wasn't going to just do that because that wasn't just going to be the style of play because you had a racehorse and Trace. So I think it's going to take some time, but I think we're going to get to that place. I think you have the pieces, but I think it's going to take some time. And I think this is that testament we talked about when Woody started. It's going to take time. We're going to probably not like these losses, but we got to remember he just got there, right? This is a part of that process he talked about. It's going to take some time to really have you believe who you are while you're wearing an IU uniform. It's going to take some time for those guys to get that.
I pretty much said that earlier before you joined us that, hey, you got to remember he just got here. He's got some guys that he brought in, but all those guys came from different places. They're not freshmen. They're not freshmen. They're all different programs. Then you've got the other guys that he didn't know because They're all new to him. So everybody's new to him. They're all new to his system. So I agree. It has to come together. This team is, while they're well bonded, I said earlier, they're not a team on the floor for 40 minutes. They just are still disjointed. Miller Kopp and Parker Stewart have not found their roles.
Rhythm. Yeah.
And I don't know how to make that happen. Is it up to setting up some running plays, set screens to get him some shots? Or is it up to him to work harder to get open? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I think this is also the ugly eye, the lipstick on the pig of the transfer portal. This is I think I probably would say we probably are experiencing what a lot of people experience. It'd be different saying, oh my God, they came in instant chemistry. They got a rhythm. I think for me, Parker Stewart's more of his game to me, he can catch and shoot. He can put the ball on the floor. I really don't see him bring the ball to play. He's more of a 2-guard. Miller's more of a true 3. He can shoot it, put the ball. He loves to go baseline. You got like an oil and water kind of mix. I don't know if it's going to. I think it's going to take some time, but this is to me the when you put together your 3 top guys, transfer. Parker really didn't play last year, and then you got Miller. Your 3 top guys on the perimeter got to build chemistry. That's going to then have. Race is really not a scorer to me. He's more of a garbage man. That's a great compliment, to be honest with you. And then you got your racehorse again in Trace. So you're going to have it's not gelling. It's not going to look right. I think it's going to have to take a lot of practice, and it's going to take one more year, unfortunately. And I don't know if Trace is going to be around.
And this comment here, Indiana they're probably going to steal more than a game. Because this might not be the only time this happens. We yesterday, before you joined, I mentioned that both Michigan State and Ohio State go to overtime with their games against Nebraska and Northwestern. So it's the Big Ten, man. It's going to be a fist fight every night. So this may not be the last one. But yeah, they're definitely going to have to do that. They're going to have to upset people because now they've lost to a team that is perceived to be under them.
Well, then you also have to put in consideration the pandemic, where you don't know if you're going to have all your players playing every single game. So, that who knows? I mean, think about that. That layoff of not having that get right game in between might have hurt us, right? I don't know, right? You lose a tough one by 3. That's great. But there was a reason the experts probably picked them to finish 7th in the Big Ten. I don't know. Right. I mean, that's, we got to keep that in mind. I don't know why they did that, but we have to keep that in mind. That's probably what we are as a group.
Oh, it is. I mean, you look at the teams in and around, and I think that they would be very happy to finish 7th in the Big Ten because that will get them in the tournament. But those first 9 spots in the Big Ten, those. It's tough sledding.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, we it's just like anything else. Okay. Hey, where's the next one? And if I'm not mistaken, did Woody wear his sweatsuit?
Nope. Sweatsuit, not a regular suit.
Not a suit. Okay. Well, there we go.
I hadn't brought that up yet. I was saving it.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I saw the press.
No, I just meant I hadn't even mentioned it yet, but
yeah, well, man, wear your suit, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah,
I believe in that kind of stuff sometimes.
How about 5 rebounds from Trace Jackson Davis in a game where Indiana gets out rebounded by a team absolutely they shouldn't have, but they have been out rebounding everyone all season.
Man, that's again, who knows what happened. I think the second half effort, according to what I read, was just not there. Coach Knight's message always for us, you have to, the first 5 minutes of the game is crucial. Who knows what happened the first 5 minutes of the second half? You came out sluggish. We've had some bad second halves. I mean, going back to the Wisconsin game, right? We've had some bad starts where we just probably looked lost. And I can only imagine if you had a bad start on the road, it probably obviously it didn't end well with the loss.
I've seen a lot of comments about substitution patterns, and I'm like, that's not for me to weigh in on. I'm out in practice, so I don't know. There's a couple things. Christian Lander, people go, what did Christian Lander play? Well, you know what? I promise you, if they thought that having Christian in there would be a better option, I'm pretty sure he would be in there. I saw a post Saturday I mentioned earlier. It just drove me nuts. An IU fan said, if I'm Christian Lander, I'm in the portal. Why? He's an 18-year-old freshman.
Exactly.
Because he's not getting all the minutes. And even if someone is not playing in front of you as well as they should, that doesn't mean you're going to play better than they are. If that was the case, again, I think that you would be out there.
He'll be out
just
there.
Getting there. He will be.
Yeah.
There's no sense in rushing him.
Yeah, and again, I'm gonna just kind of bring this point, and we'll get back to it. But it's called development, people. And I mean, you got good eyes over there with the coaching staff, and they don't feel a player can help in those 5 spots that they're looking to get the 200 minutes out of the total 5 for 40 minutes. You're not fitting that 5, which would be about 8 players. You're not fitting it. You're not playing. It's called development. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Yep. He says he doesn't think Woodson has the point guard he wants. He thinks he'll be fine when they get that, but who knows how long that will be. Lander went from a 5-star to a project. Back with more Indiana Sports Week. Yeah,
it's high school, man. Like, I mean, come on, man. Nothing against it. Love Evansville. I lived there. Come on, you were Evansville, dude. Come on, man. You didn't play many people. Come on, like.
Well, we'll get it set it up. Coming back with more from Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Charlie Miller. Back right after this.
You have to shoot a person away, man. It's good.
Huh?
He's trying to shoot a person.
No, it's my girlfriend asked me what she should wear.
Oh, good, man. Hey, don't do that. No, I'm helping you out. Don't do that. How about close the window and go tell her what she need to put on? Don't shoot. I'm trying to help you out, man.
I believe that.
You shoot away again, you're gonna get a show. I do that. You're gonna see a shoe come in at me.
Yeah.
Hey, what time will you at 10:40?
Ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, since it's a start.
Right. 2 more segments in, right?
Jim still has to come on. Well, there he is.
Well, but just 2 more segments, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I don't have any camera. Oh, wait, it's not plugged in.
Hey, there you go.
That'll help. If I plugged it in, it might work.
It's had remarkable luck.
Is that Ryan McLemore? What was that?
Who did?
No, that's Jim. Ryan McLemore over there, the Seattle rapper. Slick hair.
Me?
No, Jim.
Reamer.
It's a different camera angle.
Yeah. that Ryan McLemore cut. What was that song Keegan, what's that song he had? I forget the name of it.
Thrift store?
Yeah.
We're talking about, that McLemore. Yeah.
I can't really see the tree.
I'm telling it's 2 feet wide by 2 feet long, probably 3 stories, maybe. Just fell straight next to my Airbnb.
You're a terrible camera person, brother.
What do you? I'm sorry.
Well, you want to go into sports media? You can't shoot like that, man. You got to get better.
It's not my job to shoot for you. It's my job to shoot what's in front of me.
Yeah, but you got to shoot it so people can see it.
Tree's not performing. Tree's trying to kill me.
And, shoot horizontally. Don't ever shoot up and down. Rookie, what are you, a 12-year-old?
To you, I am.
He's a parent recording his.
What is that? What is that? Selfie. 12-year-old selfie snapper.
15 seconds.
You missed it, Reamer. He had a tree fall on him. Really? During the show.
On him?
You'll see the clip later today. I'll probably put it on Twitter.
Well, put it on here.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this post New Year's Eve Monday. Happy New Year's, happy 2022. Hope you had a great start to it. Jim Reamer joins us now, along with Charlie Miller. Mr. Reamer, how are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good. Trying to figure my technology out here. Jeez.
Yeah, it's a new year, man. So new problems, right?
Yeah. It's new computer.
Jim, get it over more to your left.
More? All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
How was your weekend, by the
More.
way? That
Still, your face still kind of like it's not
Crooked.
all the way in.
My face is crooked.
Come on. Yeah. There we go,
did
sir.
you happen to get out, do anything for New Year's Eve?
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that on the air, are we?
Whoa, it must have been a good one.
Oh, yeah. It's always.
Man,
Yeah,
mine was. I talked about mine because I was in by 10:30.
Oh, it's definitely not in by 10:30. Yeah, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is and New Year's Eve are two big nights.
Well, but how often do
Normal.
we get a New Year's Eve on a Friday night?
Well, that's worse.
I know that's what I'm saying. And then next year it's Saturday night.
Yeah, that's look. I know this will be blasphemous to some people, evidently, but I would say Christmas Eve and Christmas, New Year's Eve and New Year's just always need to be on Sunday and Monday every year. That would be my desire. That soaks up. That way there's basketball on Friday and Saturday. We got to mess with it. People won't have to go to work on Mondays, right?
I'd rather have the Friday off, man.
Yeah. I don't know. The girl did that, and she was really she did Monday off. She's off today.
I said that a lot with Christmas. I said I would not mind if Christmas and New Year were on Friday every year, man. That would be kind of, you get that whole weekend deal going. Just stretch it out a little, Charlie. Now Charlie don't care. He's family man. He's like, I don't care. It don't make a difference to me.
Yeah, we didn't have basketball. We didn't have basketball on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Two weeks in a row. It's not good for my immune system.
Well, it's sometimes though I'm surprised that someone didn't put a tournament together.
It's hit and miss. There was a time when there was always something big on New Year's Day, and there kind of was up in Hammond this on New Year's Day. But the marquee matchup was Cathedral versus La Lumiere. La Lumiere just didn't show up. They ducked them. They don't really have any they gave Delaney one set of reasons. They gave the event host another set of reasons. Basically, they just didn't show up. I mean, they called, but they called in the afternoon after Cathedral had already made the trip.
Wow.
So they didn't show up. So one of the best prep schools in the country, evidently. I'm kind of anti undergrad prep school.
Right.
At least the pop-up ones. And Lalu's not a pop-up school. It's a legitimate school. I don't know. Just still kind of anti a little bit. But, yeah, they just didn't show up. They're like, we don't want to play.
Well,
so,
I guess it's that sounds like Indiana yesterday.
Charlie, am I missing something? There is zero shot creation off the ball.
We just talked about that. Parker Stewart, Miller Kopp, they're in there for all those minutes. They don't get shots. What did he take? 3 shots? Parker yesterday? 3 total?
I can't tell. Outside of their initial action, which is varied, they do have different ways to enter their offense, but everything is pretty much one screen into a wing entry that leads to a post pass to Trace. If it doesn't work, it's reverse through Race or whoever the second big man is. There's either some sort of reverse and follow ball screen action or dribble handoff action, which that's fine. And then if there's nothing off that action, then it gets kicked back to the wing for another attempt at a post feed.
Right.
Again, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. There is something wrong with it if that's what you do every possession. Certainly every set possession, which I would say a set possession is after a made basket.
Right.
Where a dead possession is off a dead ball. But then what happens after that for the rest of the shot clock is nebulous to me. There's no
Archie Miller-esque.
If it's dribble drive, great. Except Miller Kopp can't succeed with the ball in his hands that way. He has to come off screens. Parker Stewart may be a little bit of a mixture there. Obviously, Finney was really good in the second half yesterday, which was great to see.
But he worked hard.
He did. Well, he was, play with a lot. I was just happy to see him come off that ball screen, and the guy went underneath it, and he just like, heck with it. I'm just going to shoot it. That's the right read. Assuming he's hitting those shots in practice and they feel comfortable with him shooting those, they seem to want him to be that type of aggressive. So I was fine with that. But there's zero shot creation off the ball, except for maybe an occasional interior screen for the bigs. And there's zero, I'm going to use the word flow. There's zero motion after that, right? Leading into the end of the clock situation, which basically, if it's not a post feed, back to Trace, it's some sort of isolation situation. And I'm not sure how good IU's players are in isolation.
Well, I think Trace is good, right? I mean, because I'm close to the basket. I mean, I'm not correcting you, right? But as far as like inside out play or drive, kick, penetrate, pitch to really attract on your attacks, I don't see that. I don't even know if they have that kind of time towards the end of the shot clock, because once again your motion offense goes through, and it's like really a lot of not sharp cuts to me. I mean, nothing against it. Who knows if this is the focus. But then now you got the ball screen that we know is set. And to me, I think that's where you get a guy like Xavier, where I think he gets in a pickle. And Coach Knight used to always say, you get below the free throw line, it's going to be tough to make a pass out because it's just too much traffic. Yeah. And I don't see kickouts. I don't see guys moving along, being at least a pass or two ahead of the ball to flow, like you said, a flow. It's either a catch and shoot or you're running off. I think Miller's predictable. I joke with John, the producer, when I first saw Miller play. It's like either he's shooting it or he's running baseline. Not saying it's bad, but I kind of know what he's going to do. So, yeah, I don't know if there is any type of drive, kick, penetrate, pitch options. I'm more than certain it's probably encouraged, but I don't really know if there really is. I don't see that consistently.
Well, I think they do some of that, but I don't think Miller. I don't think Kopp is a guy who's driving closeouts very well right now.
Right.
So if all you're doing is the dribble drive stuff and you're kicking it out to him, he's not a good driver. He's not great at driving closeouts.
Right.
Or at least he hasn't shown the ability to do that, consistently. And kudos for Penn State for coming out in the zone. That seemed to be a changeup. I've not watched anything of their games this year, but Micah made it clear that they just kind of threw it out there.
With Indiana's fortunes against zones this year.
Jim, you're muffled.
I said that was not surprising after what we've seen Indiana perform, we've seen them perform against zones this year.
Yeah.
Right. But it's tough to just play a zone. It's tough to just play it. I mean, we live in a state, not that Indiana is unique in this regard. We live in a state where, for years, for decades, one of the best defenses in the state was run by a Kokomo team or a Basil Malby coach who coached zones, but he coached them like man-to-man. Basically it was man-to-man principles with just zone concepts zone coverages. And, most people don't realize how much work goes into teaching a good zone. A lot of them just think you just go out there and you play it.
Yeah.
And you don't. Now, if that's what Micah did, if Micah's like, you know what, hey, we need to work on this for a couple of days because we want to throw out a wrinkle and see if it works, then that's certainly a coaching strategy, especially if like you said, Jim, if Indiana's unprepared for it because they don't see it in previous scouts. But, none of that counteracts the part that I said earlier, which was, unless I'm missing something, there's no meat to what Indiana's doing offensively other than just their entries and end the clock, ISO, and ball screen situations.
Yeah, I think that's the identity. I agree. That's what I see. I see the identity of that. I don't see anything else. I don't see any second layer options.
Yeah, and it's every time too. I mean, look, even if because I agree with what you said, Charlie. Sometimes it's hard to consider, okay, if we run early clock stuff and we have late clock stuff, there's not a lot of time in the middle because you also have to take into consideration getting the ball up the court.
Correct.
So your early clock stuff is really at the 24-second mark, right?
Right.
And your late clock stuff is 7 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, which is a lot of team. But this, I'll get back to my shot clock thing here in a minute. But the point there is maybe sometimes you just come down and you run your continuity offense, whether it's the popular flow that Butler has that Butler has popularized, or just a regular straight motion that you played in that I love teaching and watching. or it's some sort of flex, or some sort
Right.
of swing offense, which is a flex variant. There's none of that, it seems. Last year or 2 years ago, Archie's second to last year, they were really running a lot of blocker mover,
Mm-hmm.
and they were running entries into blocker mover. And then his last year, they got rid of the blocker mover. They kept the entries, but they got rid of it. And I love the blocker mover versus nothing. I mean, the
Right.
blocker mover was great. That's for people that don't know. That's what Virginia runs and is certainly popularized. Bennett's dad popularized that offense, and Tony has been out. Virginia teams have been outstanding at it. Now, that would be a great offense for what Indiana has.
Yeah,
Because you've
personalized.
got two bigs, right, that are constantly on the floor.
Right.
Even when they go small with Geronimo, he's a superior athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he would make a hell of a screener. He would make a hell of a second catch guy
Right.
who could then rip and drive. But there's just no meat to what they're doing other than their early clock and late clock stuff. And I'm not even sure how effective their late clock stuff is.
Yeah. Well, then again, I think that affects, like you said, about shot selection, right? The shots you take. And then I think that affects rebounding. Rebound, because for someone like that.
Jim's got audio. There we go. Go, Charlie. Shot selection, rebound.
It was probably I turned my mic off earlier. That's probably what it was.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, but just got thrown off a little bit. But
you were talking about shot selection.
Yeah, shot selection. It just, I mean, again, so then to me, like you said, there's no flow, there's no continuity,
right?
There's no if-thens, there's no weak side actions. I don't know. I mean, it's like and again, I'm not in practice.
Weak side action is what you're. There's none of that.
There's no weak side. That's my point. And it's like, so to me, teams that are really, really good and all these offensive schemes that we're talking about, their weak side action keeps the weak side defense occupied. Mm-hmm. It's almost a known. It's like, man, everybody shifted over. They know that ball's not going to be swung back over, right? I mean, because
I'll coach a kid. I'll coach a kid every now and then. He's like, "Why am I setting the screen if the ball's not going to make it back my way?"
Yeah, come on, man.
Even on a set where it's the design. The design is to create the diversion.
There you go.
That we're not
keep the whole other side on this side of the court so we can have super gaps to penetrate, so we can score. I mean, but we got coaches that think screening negates spacing. No, man.
I'm with you. It kind of does. I get it because.
Well, if you're not teaching it, right? If you're not teaching it, you're not teaching slips, second cutter options, opposite communication, because you're not just, are you setting half butt screens? Are you turning your body coming down? I'm with you on that.
And if I can get the other defender to turn his head, that's all the spacing I need. If I'm good, now I'm not, I need a lot of room, to get by anybody. But I mean, if I'm a guy who gets downhill, all I need is for that other defender, that help defender who's going to be one pass away to turn his head, because that's a mistake.
There you go.
You guard the ball, you see your man. That's basically the core of any good packed in or ball oriented defense. Because obviously Indiana can't control how teams guard them, but even teams that pack it in, you guard the ball, you see your man, and you do it to the point where they're supposed to be in a position where they can see the ball and man without moving their head. That's the discipline. If you can get that other defender to turn his head, then you can beat him. That's all the spacing you need.
And it's a half a second. A half a second in basketball to me is about 7-8 feet of space. And that's all we're talking about, and I say, you got to teach it. And I think we're talking about a high awareness. I don't like to say IQ, but a high holistic awareness of what we're talking about. Right. I think you got to keep it, but to me, it has to be a constant thing, not just something you do scheme wise, but I'm with you on that.
And we are getting to a level, college, not so much the high school level, but definitely the pro level, but in the college level, it's kind of hit and miss where should you or shouldn't you leave shooters in the corner?
Right.
Which is designed to stretch out the defense. Of course, Crean never left the corner, but then he hardly ever had rim protection. I really didn't pay attention to all the stuff. I mean, I noticed that Penn State got a lot of corner threes. I didn't pay attention to how they were getting into it. What I've watched so far, what I missed yesterday from the Indiana games, I watched a lot of second half possessions on Synergy. And that's it. I don't know how much you help off of shooters. That is going to be dictated some by who you play. I hope that's dictated some by who you play and not just some overriding principle. But IU's problem yesterday wasn't defense. It was definitely the offensive end of the floor. But if we've got time, Jim, one more thing about the shot clock stuff. People think, especially as they try to advocate it for the high school level, people think that adding a shot clock is going to raise scoring. And that's not necessarily the case, because what you see a lot of times is you see teams, and I'm not saying Indiana is one of these, but you see teams that micromanage every segment of that clock. And they want to get to their late offense because they think it's the most effective thing they do. So they have early offense, they have late offense, and then they have the stuff in the middle that oftentimes is just false motion. I mean, it's gotten to the point.
Distraction.
Yeah, it's just there to occupy time. And that's what Indiana was doing under Miller. I mean, people argue it, and it's like, no, there's nothing to argue. We've gotten to the point where we have created this term false motion.
That's right.
Or false movement, which is a definite aspect of a team's attack that wants to occupy the clock. So the shot clock isn't necessarily going to, and this is a high school thing. This is not a college thing, but
right.
But a shot clock isn't going to necessarily raise scoring. It is going to clean up the end of games and maybe clean up what a team does at the end of a clock, like the end of a half or the end of a quarter. But there'll be a lot of instances where coaches now will say, look, we want to maximize every possession because we know we've got this opportunity here. If we can make this team guard a certain amount, and then you have defenses that say, well, all I have to do is guard 35 seconds.
Right.
And now we're on offense. So it's just a different battle, but yeah, Indiana, that was a tangent. I'm sorry. But Indiana was very much yesterday, early clock, late clock, nothing in the middle.
We'll come back. We'll take a break, and we'll come back, talk about Indiana. Got to take on Ohio State next, but also talk about a little bit more of the shot clock, if that ever, when did that might come into fruition for this state. I don't know where they are in discussions about that. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you right now. Charlie Miller, Jim Reamer joining us. We're back with more, brought to you by Remax Realty and Southern Stone Restaurant. Back right after this.
Yeah, I saw LeBron put out a tweet. I think in Ohio, they're discussing it, right, Jim Reamer, about the shot clock? Yeah.
I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of. I like playing with it, but I always play fast. So
exactly. Right.
I like playing with it. I don't think it's necessary. That's where I draw the line. Is people saying, well, we have to have it. Teams are ruining the game. Like, no, there's not. They often point to Carmel because we do have lower scoring games, but a lot of that's because we make teams work to score.
Mm-hmm. I just my opinion has always, well, I can't say always, but have an opportunity to play at the collegiate level and then have an opportunity to play at the professional level. I'm an advocate because I'm like, everything else we take is always a top down from our society, our culture. Why aren't we teaching this to the young kids as far as playing with a shot clock? That's always my thoughts there. I don't the style of play. I mean, heck, I had a coach in Florida. He would literally want to win games 10-8. He didn't care. And he had a bunch of athletes, but he would play four-corner offense because he would take you. He literally would want to take you out of your game, right? And I mean, and he didn't care. But my point is, like, if you're going to have that opportunity, or if you're going to, I think it's more of a preparation approach for me. Have it so people understand like the sense of importance of play, like how to really manage the clock, right? How to really take advantage of, like you say, playing fast, having these opportunities. That to me is more so my argument. I don't know if it's about the scoring, more so that there's an opportunity for players to play where they're used to it because they played against it at the middle school level, at the high school level, now at the college and pro level.
I think coaches will have to would be the biggest adjustment because I just don't think a lot of high school possessions last 35 seconds. I just,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know that we want to force teams in the bad thing about that is that at some point you force teams to take shots,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have enough shot makers at the high school level on a given team, and then you're just going to force a lot of bad shots.
Right. Well, I mean, just like anything
You got
else.
to develop an offense in though.
Yeah, that's true. No,
right?
that's true.
Teams that are going to thrive. They're going to milk the cow the best way they know how. Right.
Hey, if you got a height problem, you're going to learn how to use your speed and whatever else.
Back in 10. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome
Tim
back,
Gale.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Charlie Miller with us, Jim Reamer. How are everybody else out there? Hope you guys had a happy new year, and it's off and running, man. 2022 is here. What's up next in the high school, Jim Reamer?
They're back in school now, so it's mostly Tuesday, Friday, Saturday games. There's good games this week. I know obviously the Purdue fans will be interested in seeing Braden Smith play. A couple of really good games this week. They play Mount Vernon tomorrow night, and then they play I know it's a Bloomington Station, but then they play Carmel this weekend. CJ Gunn is back for Lawrence North. He was spectacular in his first game back.
I was at that game.
Did you come up to Tinley? Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that. He came in with about 5 minutes to the left in the first quarter, so he didn't start 6 minutes ago, and man, it didn't take him. He missed his first shot, but it did right after that. It started coming on, and they let things get away in the middle as a team, him included. But man, you talk about. I don't know if I've ever seen a better fourth quarter effort in high school
Right.
than what he did the other night. He had 4 3-pointers, 3 back-to-back, 19 fourth quarter points, and nearly brought Lawrence North back to that win, which the fact that they lost was a whole nother deal because they were up big. That game switched, but it was a fun game to watch. But last year I saw him. He did not have a very good shooting night. He didn't look comfortable. Man, the more things weren't going well, he just kept going the other night. Mm-hmm. He was a shooter. He had the shooter's mentality the other night, and they started dropping. And I'm not talking about set up, squared up drop. He was some fallaways. I mean, I was like, whew, he's doing a little Reggie-esque, man. He was trying to do the Reggie fourth quarter magic, but looked really good, confident.
Yeah, he was playing well at the end of summer and earlier in the fall when I got to see him play before he got hurt. And you wonder sometimes with a foot injury, lower extremity injury, how that's going to impact a kid, especially if it's your first serious injury. And I'm not 100% sure that it is his first serious injury, but you just never know.
He was running pretty hard. I mean, he was 100%.
Well, they definitely held him out to make absolutely sure. I mean, I think he probably could have played a month ago, I think is how that's playing out. But there's no reason to do that when, look, your record doesn't impact your standing in a sectional in the state tournament here in this state. So there was no reason to rush him back. Plus, it gave some younger kids a chance to really develop. And Mac Brown, who's is a senior shooter for them, for Lawrence North, that gave him some opportunities to get some touches and some confidence, and that's going to be a good weapon for them going forward. But Tinley is a very athletic team. They're a very physical team. Their guards are a little small, but they're long and athletic in the other positions. They don't have legitimate size, it's still a small school. They don't have a great deal of size other than the fact that other than their starting point guards, and sometimes they play 2 of those guards, they're 6'5" across the board. So of good athletes who play hard and really 3 or 4 of them have just nonstop motors. They just play so hard all the time. So you were at Tinley. You like that small gym, huh?
You know what? That kind of cracked me up. I had not seen a gym that size in quite some time, especially a high school gym. I was like, oh, wow. most schools up in Indianapolis and down where Southern Indiana, where I'm from, 4, 5, up to 8,000 seats. So that was a little different.
they're a small school,
but it was fun. But it was fun
Yeah.
though. It was a raucous environment, and it was fun.
It's loud in there, and they're good. They're small. They're a charter school that started out as just being an academic option for mostly inner city kids. They're getting some township kids in there now, and I'm sure they are getting township kids that aren't just athletes, looking for places to play. But they've been one of the success stories on the charter school front, talking academically, not just athletically, but academically. And of course, their
basketball school.
There you go. And of course, their basketball has taken off, and they've been very successful. They won a state championship. They got the semi-state last year. They are
Eric Hunter Jr.'s from there.
Who?
I think Eric Hunter Jr., I believe.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, at Purdue. He played there at Tinley. They got a kid that went to Eastern Illinois off that same group that played for them on their state championship team. They've got 3 kids now that I think, or 4 kids now that I think are definitely scholarship type athletes basketball wise, including the Pinkston brothers and Aaron Humphrey, and then you got Billy Brown and Alondo Tucker. And that's a good group. They'll face a challenge in Gary 21st Century up in with Ashton Williamson, who's a high major prospect. But they beat Tinley earlier, and that's definitely going to be. That would be a great state championship game if Gary 21st Century played Tinley in the finals.
Where are we now on the recruiting trail? Where are coaches? When's the next time they can get out? All of that stuff.
Well, they can go to high school games pretty much unabated now. I don't know if they have the restriction of number of days total that you can get out. If they do, it's usually 40, 40 total days you can get out. But from everything has to be at the scholastic level. So everything has to be at practices or games. They can communicate directly with the kids at the school, and then obviously if their kids are juniors or seniors, they can just flat out call them anytime they want. Call them and text them anytime they want. So there's 2 periods.
Not like when Indiana got their program decimated in 2007.
The rules are very different. Yeah, the rules are definitely very different. And that's the thing, with Sampson is, he violated the rules of the day, and then he violated his punishment at the time, and the sad thing is those are no longer the rules. So he would have never had the punishment, but it is what it is. And
if he did it the first time, I'd give him a pass. I'd be all right. Nobody got stupid little stuff. Now, not when you do it when you're on probation for doing it. That's the one I'm like, nope.
Like him, they get rid of the rule because it's like, yeah, he gets highlighted because he's at IU, but man, that rule's been broken so many times.
It's been broken.
Dude.
A lot.
I mean, come on, man. Like I remember being on the phone, guys, and Jim Reamer. I know in Jim Coyle too. I remember being on the phone with Rolly Massimino, and we were on the phone breathing like boyfriend and girlfriend. What are you doing today, Charlie? Nothing. What you got going on? I don't know. He was at Cleveland State at the time. Okay.
Oh wow.
Right. So I'm sure. So we're on the phone breathing, dude. I'm just on the phone. I'm just on the phone, and talk about nothing.
But it was so easy to get around that rule.
Right.
All you had to do was call a guy like me and say, "Hey, can you have so and so give me a call?"
3-way. Yeah.
Not even that. I just would send.
I think Kelvin was 3-way.
Hey.
I think Kelvin was 3-weighing.
Well, that's what he was doing. Yeah, I mean, I just send our guys a text and they just call a coach. I mean, or I would give them a time. Hey, can you call so and so? And that's any coach. School coaches could be the same thing. They could always call coaches.
Yeah, you can always call.
And if you're recruiting the son of a coach, then heck, you could call him anytime you wanted. You just had to call the dad's number or the mom's number, however that was, and you would just hand him a phone. There just was no reason to violate that rule. But the other part of it, there was no reason not to have that rule. I mean, or no reason to have that rule. But because like you, Charlie, that conversation sounds like a conversation that probably got tiresome after a while. Coaches could wear their welcomes out if they blow people's phones up, and I think they had to find.
To call you.
How many people have you heard? How many coaches? You don't have to tell who they are, but how many coaches wore you out? Like, dude, I wish he would just stop. I mean, I know we've had several players say the same thing.
Oh, you mean Charlie? Yeah.
You don't look at it back then. I mean, still impressive, whatever, but you're like, okay, what are we discussing? What are we talking about? How many times I can tell you the weather down in Miami? And
yeah, you're 17, 18
heyday. Places and, but I mean, again, this was towards my junior. It's like the beginning of my junior season. So that was the rule, right? I had a very active high school coach, so they would communicate a lot through him, and he was very involved. I mean, he hadn't missed the Final Four in probably 45 plus years, so he knew a lot of people. And I think the testament of him really helped me on the recruiting trail, get to know a lot of coaches and really put that word out about me. But I mean, it kind of wears you out a little bit. But it's pretty cool, to walk in the mall with Billy Donovan when he was an assistant coach under Coach P. Patino, and this is when Billy just left Providence as a player. People may not know he was a heck of a player at Providence. You're right. We're just walking in the mall talking about nothing. And not, here it is, this guy, So to me, it's like it all kind of intertwines when you talk about the recruiting trail and the phone calls, but it's almost like people smoking weed, right? I mean, okay, yeah, slap on the wrist, bad, but now it's okay. It's legal in so many states. So it's like, okay, I mean, it is what I mean, not to go down that fish hole, but it's like you're going to find a way to reach standouts. You're going to find a way through handlers. Hey, call me, tell so-and-so to do this, that. You're going to find a way. And it's inevitable to me.
Who was it? You just mentioned the name you just mentioned, not Raleigh, but the other name.
Donovan.
Billy Donovan.
Yes, he played on the '87 team, I believe, Final Four team with Delray Brooks, who transferred from Indiana.
Yeah, and I knew Delray. He actually knew him pretty good too. So it's like it's pretty cool when you look over a lot of the guys. Like I always talk about our managers. I was going back and forth with Mike Schrage on text, who's an Elon head coach. He texted me Happy New Year. So it's like to see guys like a Mike Schrage 20 years later become head coaches, but to see the Billy Donovans of the world, to see a lot of assistant coaches that were just coming out of college, but yet new to coaching, now they are the next up, or now, they are the marquee coaches. It's just still like an awe thing for me. But to just know their humble beginnings in recruiting and having to call people, I can only imagine what they're probably going through.
Jim, this was Charlie's when Charlie was coming through, and even after that, it was definitely up through the 2005 class. Coaches could talk with me after games. Mm-hmm. So after every game, it was like a receiving line. With like at a I don't know, a funeral, or hopefully it was you won, so it was more like a reception, but it was a receiving line. And then they got to the point where they couldn't do anything other than hand you a letter or a business card. But then what would happen is you'd have this stack of mail that was probably just going to like two kids that early in the game. And so then I'm like, okay, now if I do this in public, I'm basically shaming the rest of our kids. So we got to the point where we just started handling things at the hotel. So we'd have two games before we go back to the hotel. I'd have, I don't know, maybe a stack of 30 or 40 envelopes, or 30 or 40 business cards somewhere, that will always be in envelopes, and nothing else in the envelope, which was good. But, you go back to the hotel and you call the kid in and you say, look, man, here's your mail for the day. And I'm glad that they can't do that anymore. I like the phone calls and the texts. a lot better than I do the reception line at the at the funeral home. But
That's
yeah,
fine.
the rules have always kind of evolved, and I think now they're to the point where I'm glad they can communicate with the kids, but they're also doing things like limiting opportunities for these guys to be seen during the summer, and that's definitely not good.
I want to tell, if I can, man, like a quick 2-minute story on dirty recruiting. I'm not going out to school.
1-minute story.
I'm not going to school, man. But I remember going to watch a volleyball game with an assistant coach at a school, and flat out tell me, "Hey, what you want?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "What do you think about us?" I said, "Man, all schools are the same." And he said, "Well, it's like having 5 girlfriends. They're not all the same." I said, "That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point." He said, "Man, well, so and so just got the car, and so just got the jewelry. Tell me what you want, you got it." And I was terrified. But that's when it really got. So you talk about those letters. I remember 3 of us from Florida being in a stairway. Case said, "Hey, what offer do you want to take? Like, what do you want to do?" Now, obviously, it didn't work out for me, and we didn't do that. And none of us went to those schools. But recruiting, I mean, Jim, you talk about you didn't want to do that in front of certain players because you know they weren't really going to those looks. But those high level guys, oh man,
Well,
we gotta wrap it up, Jim. We are about out of time, buddy. But that was a good story. No, that's a great way to end with that little caveat. What's coming up next for you in 15 seconds, Jim Reamer?
Games. May not be IU related, but definitely going to see some. There's a lot of good games this week. I'm looking forward to it, and it's good to have them just of an evening. I saw 14 games last week, so and that's with no games on Friday and Saturday. So that was a lot of basketball jammed into 4 days.
Yep. Charlie Miller, you?
Just projects, man. Finishing up my projects, my basketball fundamental projects, man. That's it.
We'll be talking soon again. Can't wait to see you guys next Monday. I cannot thank everybody else, of course, for joining us. As always, without you guys, we have no reason to be here. We will be back tomorrow again, and I will not be coming to you from the airport, so you won't be listening to the announcements overhead. But thank everybody. Let's see who was on with us today. The great Don Fischer, of course. And did I miss anybody? I think that's it, right? So we're good to go. Charlie Miller, Jim Rimmer, thank you guys. Happy New Year to you all. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.